The phone is silent now. The argument is over. The message has already been sent. The door has already closed. And yet your mind is still in the room where it happened. You replay the insult. You imagine what you should have said. You feel the slight again and again, as if pain can be sharpened by repetition until it finally becomes justice. But it never does. The body is sitting still, but the inner world is in combat. Racing thoughts move through you like soldiers in fog. Your chest feels tight. Your jaw is tense. Your pride is wounded. Your peace has been handed over to someone who may not even be thinking about you anymore. This is one of the first brutal truths life teaches, but most people learn it too late. The event may have lasted a few minutes. Your reaction can last for years. A person can lose one opportunity, one relationship, one season of life, and then carry around the pain everywhere, turning a single wound into a lifelong identity. They call it memory. They call it loyalty to what happened. They call it being real. But often it is merely a refusal to release the need to be upset with others. And this refusal becomes a prison. Stoicism does not ask you to pretend nothing hurts. It does not ask you to suppress grief, ignore injustice, or become stone in the face of life. The Stoic path is not emotional deadness. It is emotional sovereignty. It is the ability to possess yourself when life tries to possess you. Most people do not fail because they are weak once. They fail because they never learn what to do with weakness when it appears. Fear comes, and they obey it. Anger comes, and they become it. Desire comes, and they compromise. Confusion comes, and they surrender clarity. Emotional upheaval arrives, and suddenly their entire character is negotiable. Then later, they wonder why their life is filled with resentment, lost opportunities, and overall chaos. They blame the economy. They blame timing. They blame the cruelty of others. They blame sudden crises. They blame the past. They blame the world. And sometimes the world did play its part. But a brutal lesson remains. If you never learn to govern your reaction, life will keep finding new ways to govern you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That line has survived centuries because it cuts through excuses. You may not control the insult. You may not control the betrayal. You may not control the delay, the rejection, the disaster, the moment someone disappoints you, or the sudden separation that changes everything. But you can control what you do next. Not perfectly, not easily, but truly. And this is where the 7 brutal Stoic lessons begin. Not in a classroom, not in a book, not as clever words on a screen, but in the real places where people lose themselves. In conflict, in silence, in temptation, in heartbreak, in uncertainty, in defeat. In the long private hours when no one is watching and your inner voice asks whether you will act from principle or from pain. These lessons are brutal because they do not flatter you. They do not tell you that everything is someone else's fault. They do not say your feelings are always wise. They do not promise miracles without effort. They do not reward passivity. They do not let you confuse awareness with mastery. They ask more of you, but if you embrace them, understand them, and accept them before life forces them upon you, they can save years of misery. And later you will realize these changes are for the best. Lesson 1. Your reaction is often the real wound. The first lesson is simple, but it is not easy. What happens to you is not always the thing that destroys your peace. What you keep doing with what happened is often worse. An insult can pass through the air in seconds. A rejection can happen in one conversation. A mistake can be made in one moment. But the mind can return to that same moment for months, even years, breathing life into it, feeding it, dressing it in new interpretations, building a temple around it. This is how people become their own worst enemy, not because pain is imaginary, pain is real. But the mind can multiply pain beyond the original event. It can take a slight and turn it into condemnation. It can take criticism and turn it into identity. It can take rejection and turn it into proof that you are unworthy. It can take uncertainty and create doom. Seneca warned that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The untrained mind does this constantly. It sees one event and creates 10 disasters from it. It hears one sentence and invents hidden motives. It notices one delay and assumes abandonment. It receives one criticism and begins defending a whole life. This is not perception. It is inner turmoil disguised as truth. A trained mind learns to create distance, not distance from life, distance from the first reaction. A trained mind says, something happened. Now I must observe what I am making it mean. This is the beginning of freedom, because the event is one thing, your interpretation is another. The Stoics understood that perception is not passive. You are not merely struck by events. You participate in the meaning you assign to them. This does not mean every event is good. It means your mind has power in how it meets the event. A person insults you. The untrained mind says, I have been attacked. I must defend myself. I must respond. I must prove something. The trained mind pauses. It asks, is this true? Is this useful? Is this worth my peace? Does this person possess the authority to define me? Would answering this improve the situation or merely feed my pride? That pause changes everything. Without the pause, your life becomes a chain of reactions. Someone provokes you and you lose composure. Someone criticizes you and you become defensive. Someone ignores you and you feel worthless. Someone disagrees with you and you feel threatened. Someone succeeds and you compare yourself into misery. This is not strength. This is slavery with emotion as the master. The brutal truth is that others can only take advantage of you emotionally when your inner world is unguarded. They may offer the insult, they may offer the disrespect, they may offer manipulation. But you decide whether to let it enter the throne room of your mind. Not every event deserves access. Not every person deserves a reaction. Not every word deserves residence inside you. The Stoic does not become calm because nothing touches him. He becomes calm because he has trained himself to examine what touches him before allowing it to govern him. Think before you speak. That phrase sounds simple, almost too simple. But entire lives have been damaged because people did not obey it. A sentence spoken from anger can become a scar. Decisions made too hastily can become years of repair. A moment of lost composure can destroy trust that took years to build. You may feel justified, but justification does not erase consequence. This is why restraint is not weakness. Restraint is power under command. The person who must react to every provocation is not powerful. He is predictable. He is easy to move. He has become a target for anyone who understands his pride. But the person who can observe the insult, feel the heat rise, notice the desire to strike back, and still choose silence or measured speech, that person possesses himself. This is mastery, not emotional suppression, emotional command. You feel anger, but you do not become anger. You feel fear, but you do not obey fear. You feel pain, but you do not build a home inside it. You observe, you breathe, you assess, you choose, and with each choice, the mind is sharpened. The first brutal lesson is this: your reaction may be hurting you more than the original wound. Once you understand this, you stop asking only, "What happened to me?" You begin asking, "What am I doing with what happened?" And that question can save your life. Lesson 2. Comfort will quietly turn you into someone you do not respect. Comfort does not always arrive like an enemy. It arrives like relief, a soft bed, an easy excuse, a delayed task, a small compromise, one more hour, one more distraction, one more day before you change. Comfort speaks gently. It does not threaten you. It suggests. It says, "You have time." It says, "You deserve this." It says, "You can begin tomorrow." It says, "This one choice does not matter." But it does matter. Not because one skipped action destroys a life, because repeated passivity trains the soul to accept weakness, and weakness, when practiced long enough, begins to feel like personality. Many people think they have a weak character, when in truth they have trained weak habits. They have repeated avoidance until avoidance became familiar. They have repeated indecision until they no longer believe they can choose. They have repeated distraction until concentration feels almost outrageous. They have repeated self-betrayal until their own needs are buried beneath temporary comfort. Then one day they wake up confused by the life they created. But the life did not appear suddenly. It was built, one small surrender at a time. The Stoics understood that character is formed by repetition. You do not become courageous because you dream of courage. You become courageous by choosing courage when fear is present. You do not become disciplined because you admire discipline. You become disciplined by acting when comfort asks you to stop. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. This is one of the most brutal lessons because it reveals that freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is being able to do what is right even when part of you wants something easier. The modern world often teaches the opposite. It tells you to follow every feeling, satisfy every desire, avoid discomfort, protect your mood, chase convenience, numb pain quickly. But a person who obeys every urge is not free. He is controlled by whatever impulse arrives next. A craving, a notification, a fantasy, a fear, a mood, a memory, a hunger for approval. This is not freedom. This is a life without inner government. And without inner government, the outer world becomes your ruler. Discipline is how you reclaim sovereignty, not harshness. Sovereignty. Discipline says, "I will not let the weakest part of me make decisions for the whole of me." That sentence is a foundation. A person without discipline becomes divided. He wants one life but practices another. He dreams of personal growth but feeds the habits that keep him small. He wants peace but keeps choosing conflict. He wants clarity but keeps living distracted. He wants strength but keeps making comfort king. This division creates misery. You may still function. You may still smile. You may still tell people you are fine. But deep inside, something feels unsound, because the inner voice knows when you are not honoring your own standard. This is why discipline feels hard at first, but self-betrayal feels heavier in the end. The disciplined act hurts for a moment. The undisciplined life hurts for years. There is a difference between rest and avoidance. Rest restores you. Avoidance disempowers you. Rest is intentional. Avoidance is fear wearing the mask of recovery. A disciplined person rests when rest is wise. He does not worship exhaustion. He does not confuse self-mastery with destruction. But he also does not call every discomfort a sign to stop. He asks, what is required? Some days the answer is effort. Some days the answer is patience. Some days the answer is restraint. Some days the answer is healing. But he does not let comfort alone decide, because comfort cannot be the highest judge of your life. Comfort will not tell you when to confront your fear. Comfort will not tell you when to change your mind. Comfort will not tell you when to walk away from what weakens you. Comfort will not tell you when to do the work no one sees. Comfort protects the present feeling. Discipline protects the future self. And one day, either the present feeling or the future self will collect the reward. The second brutal lesson is this: the easiest path often creates the hardest life. Many people learn this too late. They realize that every ignored responsibility became a problem. Every avoided confrontation became a larger conflict. Every broken promise became a wound in their self-respect. Every habit they refused to tame became a chain. But you do not have to wait for disaster. You can begin with one act, one decision, one promise kept, 1 hour of concentration, one honest assessment, one moment where you choose the life you want over the comfort you crave. That is how discipline begins, quietly, without applause. And then, slowly, you begin to believe and know it within yourself. I can trust me again. That trust is worth more than comfort. Lesson 3. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. One of the most painful lessons in life is that your energy is not unlimited. You cannot carry every argument. You cannot solve every misunderstanding. You cannot explain yourself to every person committed to misreading you. You cannot rescue everyone from their own choices. You cannot keep giving yourself away and expect to remain whole. Yet many people try. They enter every conflict. They answer every insult. They defend every intention. They absorb every mood in the room. They carry around the emotional chaos of people who have never learned restraint. Then they wonder why they are exhausted. Emotional exhaustion is not always caused by hard work. Sometimes it is caused by poor boundaries. Sometimes it is caused by giving sacred attention to things that deserve none. The Stoic does not treat attention as cheap. Attention is life. Where your attention goes, your inner world follows. If you spend your life watching for disrespect, you will find disrespect everywhere. If you spend your life interpreting every silence as rejection, your days become filled with imaginary wounds. If you spend your life feeding resentment, resentment becomes the atmosphere you breathe. This is why you must choose your battles wisely. Not every battle is noble. Some battles are merely traps for your pride. A person says something foolish. A stranger misunderstands you. Someone makes assumptions. Someone tries to provoke a reaction. Someone acts out of their own inner turmoil and invites you into it. The untrained mind enters immediately. The trained mind observes. It asks, is this worth my energy? That question is not cowardice. It is strategy. There are confrontations that matter. There are issues that must be addressed. There are moments when silence would be compromise. There are times when your personal faith and ethics will be tested, and you must stand with clarity. But there are also moments where speaking is vanity, where arguing is weakness, where proving yourself becomes a form of begging, where the highest victory is distance. This is the lesson behind detachment. Detachment does not mean you do not care. It means you no longer let everything possess you. It means you can connect with people without being consumed by them. You can listen without losing yourself. You can remain curious, avoid being judgmental, open yourself up to ideas expressed by all kinds of people, and still protect the foundation of your own character. That balance is rare. Some people are so rigid that they cannot hear anyone. Others are so open that they are controlled by everyone. Stoic wisdom asks for something higher. Be open, but not empty. Be compassionate, but not easily manipulated. Be calm, but not passive. Be patient, but not self-abandoning. You must know what belongs to you, your values, your effort, your intention, your reaction, your discipline, and your character, and you must know what does not. Other people's opinions, other people's moods, other people's projections, other people's unresolved wounds, other people's attempts to control your inner world. Once you understand this separation, peace begins. Separation is not coldness. It is clarity. It is knowing where you end and the world begins. Many people suffer because they have no inner borders. Every comment enters. Every criticism stays. Every demand becomes urgent. Every expectation becomes law. Their life is not governed from within. It is pulled apart from without. The result is overall chaos. This is why Stoicism teaches you to return to what is in your control, not because the outside world is meaningless, but because you become useless when you are ruled by what you cannot govern. You cannot serve well when you are scattered. You cannot love well when you are resentful. You cannot lead well when you are reactive. You cannot protect your peace if you offer it to every passing disturbance. The third brutal lesson is this: if you do not guard your energy, life will spend it for you, and it will not spend it wisely. You must learn to ask, does this deserve my attention? Does this align with my values? Is this a real responsibility or merely emotional noise? Will engaging create understanding or only more conflict? Am I responding from reason or from wounded pride? These questions sharpen awareness. They place space between impulse and action. And in that space, power returns. Not loud power, quiet power. The power to walk away without hatred. The power to say nothing without feeling weak. The power to let someone misunderstand you without collapsing into explanation. The power to save your energy for what actually builds your life. There is dignity in restraint. There is strength in distance. There is mastery in refusing to hand your mind to every person who knocks. Lesson 4. The life you avoid eventually becomes the life you regret. Regret rarely announces itself early. At first, avoidance feels like relief. You delay the hard conversation, you postpone the difficult decision, you overlook the problem, you ignore the habit, you tell yourself you will deal with it later. And for a moment, anxiety decreases. But the issue does not disappear. It waits. It grows quietly in the background, like a storm beyond the mountains. This is why avoidance is so dangerous. It offers peace now and collects misery later. A person can avoid his own needs for years. He can keep pleasing others, keep suppressing truth, keep tolerating disrespect, keep living according to long-held beliefs he has never examined. He can call it patience. He can call it loyalty. He can call it being easygoing. But sometimes it is fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of change. Fear of being judged. Fear of losing approval. Fear of discovering that the life he has built is not the life he actually wants. So he stays in the wrong place, in the wrong habit, in the wrong relationship, in the wrong identity, in the wrong version of himself, until the discomfort of staying becomes greater than the fear of leaving. This is often the turning point, not inspiration. Pain. Pain finally becomes honest enough to say, this cannot continue. The Stoic does not wait for the perfect emotion before doing what must be done. He assesses reality. He sees the problem clearly. He stops asking reality to become more comfortable before he acts. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to meet the present moment with reason. Not fantasy, not panic. Not resentment, reason. What is happening? What is within my control? What action does virtue require? What must be accepted? What must be changed? These questions are simple, but simple does not mean easy. Many people prefer complicated misery to simple responsibility. They create endless explanations for why nothing can change. They analyze their pain until analysis becomes another hiding place. They wait for certainty, but certainty never comes. They wait for courage, but courage is created by action. They wait for life to offer permission, but life often waits for you to move first. This is how lost opportunities happen, not always because the door was closed. Sometimes because you never walked toward it. Sometimes because you never asked, never started, never spoke, never risked looking foolish, never allowed the old self to die. Indecision is not neutral. It is a decision to remain where you are. And remaining where you are has consequences. A person who refuses to decide will still be shaped by time. He may think he is delaying risk, but he is risking his life through stagnation. He may think he is avoiding defeat, but he is being defeated slowly by passivity. This is brutal because it reveals that doing nothing is rarely nothing. Doing nothing becomes a life. The untrained mind says, "I will act when fear is gone." The trained mind says, "Fear is present, and still I will act with reason." This is not recklessness. Stoicism does not worship impulsive change. Decisions made too hastily can be unsound. A sudden desire to change one's life can create destruction when it is driven by panic rather than wisdom. But there is also a cowardice that dresses itself as patience. You must know the difference. Patience is purposeful waiting. Avoidance is fearful delay. Patience has awareness. Avoidance has excuses. Patience prepares. Avoidance hides. The fourth brutal lesson is this: the life you avoid does not vanish. It returns as regret. This lesson can feel heavy, but it also contains hope. Because if avoidance built the life you do not want, action can build something different. Not all at once, not through miracles, through effort, through repetition, through honest decisions, through the courage to confront what you have been refusing to see. There may be people who do not understand the changes you make. There may be habits that resist being broken. There may be old beliefs that try to pull you back into familiar misery. But later, you will realize these changes are for the best. Not because change is always painless, but because self-betrayal is more painful. There is a quiet victory in finally acting, even if your hands shake, even if your voice is uncertain, even if your first steps are imperfect. The moment you stop avoiding your life, you begin returning to yourself. Lesson 5. Your character is revealed when no one can reward you. Many people appear disciplined when they are being watched. They work hard when praise is near. They act generous when reputation benefits. They speak wisely when others are listening. They show restraint when consequences are visible. But character is not proven when performance is rewarded. Character is revealed when no one sees. What do you do when there is no audience? What do you choose when there is no applause? What immoral actions do you excuse when no one can expose them? What compromises do you make in private and then hide beneath public confidence? The Stoics cared deeply about the inner life because they understood that the soul cannot be fooled forever. You can deceive others for a time. You can create the appearance of strength. You can perform discipline. You can speak beautifully about virtue. But inside, you know. You know when your actions are aligned. You know when they are not. And the gap between appearance and reality becomes its own punishment. A person with a divided character is never fully at peace. He must keep managing the mask. He must keep defending the illusion. He must keep suppressing the truth that his outer life and inner life are not the same. This creates inner turmoil, not always loud. Sometimes it feels like restlessness, sometimes irritability, sometimes a strange inability to feel proud even when others praise you. Sometimes the sadness of knowing you are capable of more honesty than you are living. The brutal truth is that you cannot build a strong life on a weak character. You can build noise, you can build attention, you can build temporary success, you can build the appearance of victory. But without character, what you build cannot hold you. A weak character eventually leaks into every part of life. It leaks into decisions, it leaks into relationships, it leaks into money, it leaks into work, it leaks into the way you treat people who cannot benefit you. It leaks into the way you speak when you are angry. It leaks into the way you act when desire rises. This is why discipline is moral, not merely practical. It is not only about waking early, working harder, or concentrating longer. It is about becoming the kind of person whose inner structure can bear power. Power without character becomes destruction. Confidence without humility becomes arrogance. Ambition without ethics becomes manipulation. Intelligence without restraint becomes danger. This is why your personal faith and ethics will be tested in small, private ways before they are tested publicly. Life watches how you handle small power before giving you more. Can you be trusted with the truth? Can you be trusted with anger? Can you be trusted with desire? Can you be trusted with someone else's vulnerability? Can you be trusted when no one is there to praise or punish you? These questions define you. A Stoic does not ask, "How can I appear honorable?" He asks, "How can I be honorable when appearance offers no reward?" This is the foundation of self-respect. You do not burst with pride because everyone saw you win. You feel quiet pride because you did not betray yourself when betrayal would have been easy. That kind of victory is deeper. It is private. It is clean. It does not require witnesses. The fifth brutal lesson is this: who you are in private eventually becomes impossible to hide. At first, private compromise seems small, but compromise repeated becomes identity. and identity eventually becomes visible. If you practice deception, your life becomes unstable. If you practice resentment, your face begins to carry it. If you practice discipline, your presence begins to change. If you practice restraint, your words gain weight. If you practice courage, your decisions become clearer. You are always training something. Every day, by action or inaction, you cultivate a version of yourself. This is why reflection matters. Not obsessive self-condemnation, clear reflection. At the end of the day, ask, where did I act from fear? Where did I lose composure? Where did I speak too quickly? Where did I show restraint? Where did I choose wisely? Where did I compromise what I claim to value? What must I correct tomorrow? This is not judgmental self-hatred. It is moral awareness. Avoid being judgmental toward others too quickly, because every person is in a battle with his own untrained impulses. But do not become so gentle that you stop correcting yourself. Correction is not cruelty. Correction is love with discipline. The person who refuses correction remains a slave to yesterday. The person who can refute his own false beliefs, change his mind, and sharpen his conduct becomes dangerous to his old self, and that is the right kind of danger. Lesson 6. You will not rise above what you refuse to understand. Many people want peace, but they do not want understanding. They want the pain to stop. They want the conflict to end. They want the anxiety to disappear. They want others to change. But they do not want to observe themselves deeply enough to discover what keeps repeating. Stoicism asks you to become curious about your own inner world. Why did that insult affect you so strongly? Why does that person's opinion possess so much power? Why do you resist certain truths? Why do you interpret neutral events as rejection? Why do you keep returning to habits that weaken you? Why do certain problems follow you from place to place? This curiosity is not softness, it is courage, because many people would rather condemn the world than understand themselves. They would rather say people are awful than ask why they keep choosing the same type of people. They would rather say nothing works for me than examine their own inconsistency. They would rather say I am unlucky than assess whether their preparation is poor. They would rather blame manipulation than ask why they ignored the early signs. Understanding does not mean blaming yourself for everything. That would be unfair and unwise. But refusing self-understanding keeps you powerless. Awareness is the beginning of change, not the end. You can be aware of a pattern and still repeat it. Many people do. They know they are quick to anger. They know they are easily distracted. They know they avoid confrontation. They know they are filled with resentment. They know their assumptions cause conflict. But awareness without discipline becomes another form of passivity. I know I do this, they say. And then they continue. Knowing is not enough. You must observe, understand, and then train. The sixth brutal lesson is this. Insight without action becomes another excuse. A Stoic does not collect wisdom to feel wise. He uses wisdom to live differently. This is why philosophy must enter the body. It must enter speech, habits, decisions, and restraint. It must shape how you respond when tired, when insulted, when tempted, when overlooked, when afraid. Otherwise, it is merely decoration. The mind must be trained. An untrained mind is dragged by appearances. It sees the surface of events and reacts as if first impressions are law. It believes every thought that appears. It treats every emotion as a command. It confuses intensity with truth. A trained mind slows down. It observes. It asks, is this thought accurate? Is this fear useful? Is this belief inherited or examined? Is this reaction aligned with who I want to become? This is how you tame the inner voice, not by silencing it entirely, by refusing to let every thought sit on the throne. You must attune yourself to truth. This requires patience, because the mind resists being governed. It prefers familiar patterns, even painful ones. It would rather repeat known misery than risk unfamiliar freedom. This is why change feels strange at first. Calm may feel unnatural if chaos has been your normal. Silence may feel weak if reaction has been your habit. Discipline may feel oppressive if impulse has been your ruler. Peace may feel suspicious if inner turmoil has been your identity. But do not confuse unfamiliarity with danger. Sometimes healing feels strange because misery was familiar. Sometimes growth feels like separation because you are separating from an old version of yourself. Sometimes clarity feels cold because you are no longer burning in emotional chaos. Later, you will realize these changes are for the best. The Stoic learns to understand before reacting. He seeks perspective. He opens himself up to ideas expressed by all kinds of people, not because he lacks conviction, but because wisdom is sharpened through honest contact with reality. He can listen without surrendering reason. He can hear criticism without collapsing. He can change his mind when truth demands it. This is strength. Weak people cannot change their mind because their identity is too fragile. They mistake correction for humiliation. They resist insight because insight threatens the story they carry around. But the wise person knows that truth is not an enemy. Truth is a mirror, and the mirror may be uncomfortable, but it can save you from living blind. Lesson 7. You must accept life before you can transcend it. The final lesson is the hardest. You cannot transcend what you refuse to accept. This does not mean you approve of everything. It does not mean injustice is fine. It does not mean loss is painless. It does not mean you stop dreaming, striving, building, or fighting for what is right. Acceptance is not surrender to weakness. Acceptance is the end of arguing with reality. Reality does not become different because you resent it. The past does not rewrite itself because you replay it. Another person does not become who you needed them to be because you keep suffering over their failure. The opportunity does not return because you punish yourself for missing it. The body does not heal faster because you hate its limits. Life does not become fair because you demand it. Acceptance is the moment you stop wasting strength against what cannot be changed, so you can place strength where it still matters. This is one of the essentials of life. Without acceptance, the mind remains trapped in resistance, and resistance creates misery. You resist what happened. You resist what ended. You resist what was lost. You resist what someone revealed about themselves. You resist the fact that your old dream may require a new path. You resist the fact that you must now become stronger. But the river does not reverse because you resist. The mountain does not move because you resent its height. The storm does not ask whether you feel ready. The Stoic learns to meet the storm as it is, not as he wishes it were. This is where peace begins, not in getting everything you wanted, but in seeing clearly enough to act wisely. Acceptance creates clarity. Clarity creates right action. Right action creates dignity. And dignity can survive even when life is hard. There will be times when events seem outrageous. Times when you are unexpectedly struck by loss, betrayal, illness, failure, or sudden crises. Times when your plans collapse and your long-held beliefs no longer explain the world. Times when the future you imagined disappears and you are left standing in silence with no choice but to begin again. In those moments, your mind will search for something to blame. It will want condemnation. It will want resentment. It will want to call the entire situation disaster and build an identity around defeat. But somewhere beneath the noise, another voice will speak. Quiet, steady, ancient. It will say, accept what is. Govern what is yours. Act with honor. That voice is the beginning of sovereignty. You may not feel strong at first. You may feel emotional, uncertain, angry, confused, even broken. But strength is not the absence of these states. Strength is the decision not to be ruled by them. The final brutal lesson is this. Life will not always give you what you want, but it will always reveal what you are. It will reveal whether your peace depends on perfect conditions. It will reveal whether your values survive pressure. It will reveal whether your discipline is real. It will reveal whether your faith and ethics are merely words or a foundation. It will reveal whether you can create meaning when the old meaning falls apart. And this revelation is not punishment, it is training. Every hardship asks a question. Will you become bitter or will you become wise? Will you collapse into reaction or rise into reason? Will you cling to resentment or release the need to be upset with others? Will you let fear define the future or will you act with courage? Will you remain your own worst enemy or will you finally become your own protector? These questions are not answered by thought alone. They are answered by conduct, by what you do next, by how you speak, by what you refuse, by what you accept, by how you carry pain, by whether you continue. The Stoic does not ask life to be easy before he becomes honorable. He does not wait for perfect circumstances before practicing virtue. He understands that life itself is the arena. The insult is training, the delay is training, the loss is training, the temptation is training, the fear is training, the silence is training, the conflict is training. Everything can become material for mastery if you meet it with awareness, restraint, and intention. This is the great transformation. You stop seeing problems only as obstacles. You begin seeing them as mirrors. Each one reveals where you are still untrained. Your anger reveals where pride still governs you. Your envy reveals where you have forgotten your own path. Your fear reveals where courage must be cultivated. Your resentment reveals where acceptance is still unfinished. Your distraction reveals where discipline must grow. Your assumptions reveal where perception must be refined. Your pain reveals where healing must begin. Nothing is wasted if it awakens you. Even defeat can serve you if it teaches you how to rise. Even lost opportunities can serve you if they sharpen your urgency. Even emotional upheaval can serve you if it forces you to build an inner world that cannot be easily taken. This is how people emerge stronger, not because life spared them, because they learned how to navigate what life gave them. And one day, you may look back at the very things that once felt like destruction and see that they were also defining. They stripped away illusions. They exposed weak foundations. They forced reflection. They made you choose. They demanded that you stop drifting. They showed you who was real, what mattered, and where your power actually lived. Later, you will realize these changes are for the best, not because the pain was pleasant, but because the pain did not get the final word. Your response did. This is the heart of Stoicism, to live according to reason, to act with virtue, to accept reality without becoming passive, to govern yourself when the world becomes difficult, to believe and know it within yourself that no outer event has the final authority over your soul unless you hand it over. This is not easy, but it is possible. And the possibility is enough to begin. You do not need to master all 7 lessons today. You need to remember them when life tests you. Remember that your reaction may be the real wound. Remember that comfort can quietly weaken what you were meant to strengthen. Remember that not everyone deserves access to your energy. Remember that the life you avoid eventually becomes the life you regret. Remember that character is revealed when no one can reward you. Remember that insight without action is only another excuse. Remember that acceptance is the doorway to transcendence. These lessons are brutal because they are honest. But honesty is not cruelty. Honesty is the hand that pulls you out of illusion. And once you see clearly, you can begin to create a different life. Not a life without pain, a life with deeper power. Not a life without conflict, a life with wiser battles. Not a life without fear. A life where fear no longer commands. Not a life without loss. A life where loss does not erase your dignity. Not a life without storms. A life where the inner world remains governed. So when the next insult comes, pause. When the next temptation comes, breathe. When the next crisis arrives, assess. When the next fear rises, observe. When the old habit calls your name, remember who you are becoming. Do not move through life as an untrained reaction. Move as a person with intention. Let your discipline be quiet. Let your awareness be sharp. Let your restraint be strong. Let your character be clean. Let your peace be protected. Let your actions be governed by reason. And when life asks whether you have learned too late, answer with the only thing that matters. Live differently now. The past may have shaped you, but it does not have to govern you. The world may test you, but it does not have to own you. Fear may visit, but it does not have to lead. Anger may rise, but it does not have to speak. Pain may remain, but it does not have to become your identity. You can change your mind. You can create new habits. You can reclaim your energy. You can release resentment. You can choose your battles wisely. You can honor your own needs without becoming selfish. You can connect with others without being controlled by them. You can open yourself to life without surrendering your sovereignty. You can stand in the storm without becoming the storm. And slowly, with effort, repetition, and courage, something begins to emerge. A calmer mind, a stronger character, a clearer path, a deeper patience, a life no longer ruled by reaction. A soul that has learned to possess itself. This is not a miracle, it is mastery. And mastery is built one choice at a time, one pause, one restraint, one honest reflection, one disciplined act, one release, one acceptance, one return to the path. The world will still be loud, people will still misunderstand you, Events will still arrive unexpectedly. Crisis will still test you. But you will no longer be as easy to move. You will not be perfect, but you will be trained. And a trained mind can walk through chaos without becoming chaos. That is the victory most people never understand. Not domination over the world, command over yourself. And once you possess that, you possess something no insult, no failure, no rejection, and no sudden storm can entirely take away. You possess the beginning of freedom.